Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow practice with me, Oceana. Today's class is of course going to focus on our balancing postures, and it's really intended to allow you to progress from my begin to balance class into this more challenging sequence. I'll still be giving you some beginner friendly variations, but I'll also be throwing in some more advanced options for those of you who want to take them. So it should allow you to sort of gradually progress your balancing postures over time. And you should always feel free to repeat the class and see how you're progressing. In terms of props, the only thing we really need is a single brick, which A is optional, and B, if you need to substitute it, you can always use a sort of thicker hardback book instead. A little word of warning about that is that we will be doing a very active warm-up exercise, which will require us to stand on the brick. And if you don't want to be standing on your precious books, then you might want to do the exercise with your foot just on the floor. Or if you have a staircase in your house, you can stand on the lowest step and do the exact same exercise there. That works really well. You may also wish to position the screen that you're watching this on along the right long edge of your mat, because we will be moving laterally along the side of the mat quite a bit, so that'll be easier for you to see there. And we'll be starting in the center of the mat, facing the right side. So gather your props, gather your substitutes, and meet me there, Yogi. So if you have a brick, then plant it between your feet on the lowest setting. And if you don't have a brick, you can simply shift your weight across into your left foot. Otherwise, bring the left foot on top of the brick, then start to shift your weight. And we'll flex the right toes towards our face. And option one, you could be here with the hands on the hips and simply work on your balance improving. Otherwise, with the hands down by the sides of the hips, you could start to bring a bit of momentum into the leg, swinging the heel almost as if it was a pendulum back and forth. And over time, you start to maybe take the hands in opposite directions for counterbalance. And gradually, you might expand the swing of the leg, making a little bit wider of a distance so that it becomes a little bit more challenging, but you might also feel that as you build momentum, it sort of allows you to stay quite focused. And really seeing if for the last couple of swings you could add a little bit more speed, you could make it a bit of a more vigorous movement without losing focus or balance. Really allowing the heel to be heavy, not bending the right knee. And gradually over time, slowing that movement right down so that you can step off to the right side. For a moment, allow yourself to come back into symmetry and maybe feel that your right leg might now be longer than the left. And so of course, so that we're not walking around in circles for the rest of the day, we're going to even it out on the second side. We'll step the right foot on the brick. We'll shift our weight into the right leg, even if it's on the floor. From there, flexing the left toes towards our face, either with the hands down by the side, or here we could stay with the hands on the hips. And again, if you want to take this a little bit further, with the toes still flexed, you're going to start to swing the heel of the left foot, maybe taking the hands in opposite directions, starting to increase the distance of that swing of the left leg. Finding that momentum and focus, and then really seeing if you can add some speed, add some distance of the swing. And I always like to sort of channel that I'm skateboarding through central Manhattan, maybe like down Fifth Avenue, channeling my inner skater girl and really sort of barreling down an empty New York street, which on one hand might not be too far from the truth right now, except that none of us can get there. And we'll make these our final few swings, so you might see if you can really add a little bit more into it. And gradually you'll come to stillness so that you can step to the left. Allow the body to briefly just settle, and from here we'll move the brick to the front of the mat, where we'll need it later on. We'll come to stand at the front with the feet hip distance. Finding the four corners of your feet, which we discussed in last week's episode. You connect into the floor. And from here, allow the shoulders to soften, allow the palms of the hands to spin open towards the front of the mat and the crown of the head to lift gently towards the ceiling. As you inhale, the arms reach out and overhead. You lift the gaze towards the ceiling, reaching through the fingertips. As you exhale, the knees soften and you swan dive all the way down into the legs. Exhale here. Inhale, hands to the shins, lift the chest, roll the shoulders back, lengthen crown of the head forward. As you exhale, bend the knees if you need to fold back down and really keep the spine nice and long. As you inhale, plant the hands underneath your shoulders and exhale to step your left foot all the way back, lower the left knee down. If you have your blanket nearby, you can slide that under the back knee for a little bit of extra cushioning and support. On an inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead into Asana, low lunge. Front heel is actively drawing back towards your back knee, so you're engaging the legs, and from that engagement, maybe finding a little bit of more lift and opening through the front of the body, spinning the pinky fingers in. As you exhale, the hands swivel all the way down to the inside of your front foot. The back foot spins behind the back knee. And from here, left arm reaches up and overhead so that you come all the way upright. Left hand to the back thigh, right arm reaches up and overhead to the back of the mat. As you inhale, right forearm to the front thigh. Left arm lifts to the front into an opposite side bend. And 2 more times here, moving with the breath. Exhale to take it to the back. Inhale to come all the way forward and overhead. One final time in each direction. Maybe on this final round, you might want to, as you come forward, take the right hand all the way to the floor, taking yourself into a slightly deeper side bend. We stay for just a little bit longer. And then swivel the top hand all the way down. Bring both hands in front of the knees. Join both knees together and come into a kneeling position. Hands on top of the thighs as you inhale, lift the chest up towards the chin, arching the spine. As you exhale, press the hands into the thighs and round the spine back, chin tucks in towards the chest. Inhale to come up to neutral. You can again have the hands in front of the knees for support, and we'll step this time the left foot to the back of the mat. From here, again, right arm swivels all the way to the back of the mat and overhead so that we bring ourselves upright. Right hand to the back thigh as you inhale, left arm reaches up and overhead to the front of the mat, into that side bend. As you exhale, left hand to the back thigh, or to the back of the mat rather. Right arm reaches up and overhead into the opposite side bend. And again, just 2 more rounds in each direction, sort of flowing through your gate pose in both directions. And the final time, again, if you wish, as you come forward, you could bring the hand to the inside of the foot, reach the top hand all the way forward and take yourself into a slightly deeper side bend. And then top hand spins down so you can unravel the back foot, coming into your low lunge facing the back of the mat. The front heel draws towards the back knee, the legs really deeply engage, and through that engagement you lift the front of the body towards the ceiling, keeping the chin tucked in if you can, the pinky fingers spinning in towards each other. Last few rounds of breath here. As you exhale, swim the hands back down. Again, the knees meet in the center, facing the long edge of your mat. Coming into a kneeling position, you draw the hands against the thighs to lift the chest up towards your chin into that little back bend. As you exhale, round the spine back, press the thighs away. Hands to the floor. Again, right foot steps forward. You're going to unravel the left foot all the way to the back of the mat. The hands are on the inside of the foot, of the front foot, and you can shimmy the blanket out of your way. From here, frame your front foot with both hands and then spin the back heel down. Step the foot in as much as you need to spin the heel down. And on an inhale, left arm sweeps up and overhead. You're going to straighten the front leg. Bring the left hand to the back thigh. Reach the right arm all the way up and overhead into reverse triangle. As you inhale, reach right arm forward. You could land the hand on your thigh, on the shin, maybe on a brick on the inside of your front foot. Left arm reaches towards the ceiling. And you can always adjust the brick slightly lower or have the hand on the floor if that's helpful. And we'll take ourselves a little bit deeper into this twist here, pressing down through the front big toe and the outer edge of the back foot. We'll rotate the lower rib cage forward, drawing the top ribs back. Staying for our last breath here and maybe lifting the gaze towards that top big thumb. Maybe the fingertips reaching a little bit higher. Gently, as you exhale, take the gaze down. Rebend your front knee quite deeply. And again, if you're using a brick, on the highest setting, you can shimmy it about a foot in front of you. Left hand comes to the top hip. And gently here, you start to shift your weight forward into the front leg. You can come onto the back big toes and maybe just be working on shifting the weight forward. Otherwise, you could start to lift that top foot, maybe with the hand on the floor. Maybe with the standing leg bent, all of that is an option. Top foot, the toes flex towards the shin and you're pressing the heel away. And once you find your balance, you re-extend the top arm into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. And if you wish, the top knee can bend. If you want to take this into a little bit more of a stretch, you see if you can catch the outer edge of your top foot. And then pressing the foot into the hand to lift the knee into a little variation of a standing split, sugar cane pose. And we find our balance for the last few rounds of breath. And then gently release the foot if you've caught it. Close your top hip, bring both hands to the floor and step your top foot behind you very gently. So you're in a sort of runner's lunge here. We're going to plant the left hand just a fraction in front of the left shoulder and spin all 10 toes to the right side of the mat. Keep a sort of unlocked sensation in your bottom elbow so you have just a little bit of a bend. And you're going to be on the outer edge of your left foot, all 10 toes facing towards the right side of the mat. Right arm can lift up into that supported side plank on the first side. Now, option one is to stay here. Option two, you could make the right toes a little bit lighter. Maybe you're even stacking the feet on top of each other in full side plank. And again, if that's really easy, feeling very stable, you could float the top foot, you can point the toes and find a little bit more of a balancing challenge. And then gently, wherever you are, we're going to find our way into a high plank. Lower the knees all the way down. As you exhale, big toes touch, send the sitting bones back into a child's pose. For a moment in this symmetrical pose, allow yourself to feel the difference from one side of the body to the other. Feel that engagement along the left side of the arm, the outer edge of the waist, the hip, that hard work that you've just done. Let it seep into your bones. Then slowly rise up into your tabletop. From here, step your left foot forward, tuck the right toes under, and lift the back knee. Again, option one is to shimmy potentially your left foot a little bit to the outer edge of the mat, and you can step the back foot in as much as you need to spin the heel to the ground. From here, with the right arm reaching up and overhead, you straighten the front leg, lift the left arm back into your reverse triangle pose. Really lengthen left side of the body. On an inhale, left arm reaches for the front of the mat. Again, you could lower the hand to the thigh, to the shin, to a brick on any setting, the brick being on the inside of your front foot. Or you could have the hand to the inside, just on the floor, pressing through the front big toe and the outer edge of the back foot. Lift the right arm up when you're ready. Again, find a little bit more of a twist by rolling your lower rib cage towards the right side of the mat, left top ribs moving back in space so that the center of your chest is spinning open towards the ceiling. Maybe you're taking the gaze up towards your top hand. And stay for your last few rounds of breath. Shift the gaze towards your front big toe and bend your front knee quite deeply. Top hand goes to the top hip. Again, if you're using a brick, you're going to shimmy the brick about a foot in front of you. Otherwise, hand can be on the floor, and you can start to shift your weight into your left leg, coming onto the right big toe. Maybe the foot wants to float all the way off the ground, and then you're flexing the toes towards the shin. Left fingertips are stacked under the left shoulder. And again, option one, you can stay here really pressing the right heel back, or you could bend your top knee. See if you can catch the outer edge of the foot with your top hand, and then press the foot away to take yourself into that sort of standing splits variation, sugarcane pose. As I always like to joke, this is a very traditional yoga pose, as we can tell by the name. And if you caught the foot, very gently release. Maybe don't let the foot ping like I did. It's getting a little bit slippery because it's very hot here today, which is sort of unusual for London. And when you're ready, very, very slowly, the top foot lands behind you. You're going to square the hips, land both fingertips to the floor so that you're in a sort of runner's lunge again. Right hand plants to the mat, just a little bit ahead of your right shoulder. And from here, all 10 toes turn to the left. You can shimmy the top foot a little bit more to the side, to the middle of the mat if that's helpful. Bottom elbow is unlocked and you're going to be on the outer edge of your back foot. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling when you're ready, so that you're in that supported side plank. Lifting through, or pressing down through that top foot rather, so you can lift the hips. And again, optional to stay here. If you wish, you walk the top foot all the way to the back of the mat, stacking the feet maybe on top of each other in full plank. Maybe even floating the top foot and pointing the big toe forward or up towards the ceiling. And then very slowly, we'll all make our way into a high plank. As we exhale, we lower the knees. We let the sitting bones come all the way down and back into our child's pose, Balasana. And we stay for a few moments of breath, allowing the body to settle back into its natural breath rhythm. And also feeling into that asymmetry again. Or maybe now having come back into symmetry, you feel that the body is more even, but you can still feel that engagement along the right arm, the muscles tense along the right side waist, the right hip. And we embrace all of that struggle, all of that hard work. Slowly, when you're ready, press into the hands, come all the way up into a tabletop position. From here, again, you might wish to have that blanket under the knees for a little bit of extra padding. Make sure that you stack the shoulders on top of the wrists, knees directly under the hips. We'll reach the left heel back and spin the left heel to the ground. Left arm lifts into a supported side plank, sort of variation 2 of supported side plank, which we did last week. Again, we're keeping the lower elbow unlocked. Now, option 1 is to stay here. Again, you could tuck the back toes behind you for support. Gives you a little bit more of a sturdy base. Otherwise, if you're challenging the balance, you keep the feet in one line. And if you want to make your life a little bit more challenging, then you're going to draw the bottom knee into the chest and see if you can extend the foot away from you, flexing the toes towards the face. After a few moments of hovering, you can land the outer edge of the foot there, and we'll slowly make our descent to the floor, whichever variation you're in. I have to apologize for my floor. I swear it was the floor that made that noise, not me. And then from here, we're going to find a little variation of wide-legged forward fold. So we're going to flex the toes towards our face. You can always have quite a generous bend on the knee here. You don't have to have the legs straight. And it's quite an active hip opener. So we're going to interlace the hands, the fingers, and we'll reach our hands over towards the left foot for the left big toe, and then draw a big circle towards the right foot. Lean back and draw the hands towards ourselves, and we'll draw a couple more circles in this direction. And unsurprisingly, this is Chakichalanasana, which is the mill churning pose. So we'll churn the mill a few more times here. And when you come back to center from here, we'll change the interlace of the hands. So we'll move one pinky finger over. And if that feels unusual, I always say you're in the right place. And then re-extend your arms, so straighten the elbows. And then take your fingers across to the right big toe. Paint the circle to the left big toe. And then lean back, draw the hands in towards yourself. And we'll do a couple more rounds in this direction, churning the mill. Getting that flour made. And very slowly come to stillness. And now you can find your way into a kneeling position any which way you like. But if you want to try this, it's a little bit more challenging and it can be kind of interesting. If you do weightlifting, you'll be quite familiar with this movement. It's sort of similar to Turkish get-up. So we'll plant the right hand to the side of the right shoulder. We're going to turn all of our toes to face towards the front of the mat, so we come onto the outer edge of the right foot, the inner edge of the left foot, and then pressing into the feet, we're going to lift the hips back up into rock star pose or fallen triangle, whatever you want to call it. Left fingertips reach high, and then we're going to retract the right knee back underneath the hip. And left knee joins. We come back into a kneeling position, hands on top of the thighs as if nothing had ever happened. If you didn't quite make it, we'll meet here. We'll draw the hands back onto the thighs, lift the chest up towards the chin, roll the shoulders back. Exhale to round the spine, pressing the hands away into the thighs. And then come back to neutral, come into a kneeling position. From here, your right leg is reaching towards the front of the mat with the outer edge of the foot parallel. You're going to stack your left hand under the left shoulder. Again, if you wish, you can always bring the blanket under the bottom knee if that's helpful. Right arm lifts up towards the ceiling here. And again, you could be here, you could stay in this variation. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging on balance, you bring the feet in one line. And if that's still not enough challenge for you, then you can retract that lower knee in towards your side waist, towards the armpit, pressing the heel away, lifting the gaze, hovering just for a moment, and then landing the outer edge of the foot very gently so that you come into, again, rock star or fallen triangle, whatever you want to call it, and very, very gently descend your hips to the floor. Back into your forward fold, wide leg forward fold. Now, here we're going to come into it a little bit more passively. So from here, if you wish, and if you notice that your lower back is sort of very much rounding back, if you still have your blanket at hand, you can slide that underneath your sitting bones briefly. You might have to bend your knees. And then again, optional here to always have your knees bent, which again might allow you to have a straighter spine and come a little bit further forward. So make those accommodations for yourself. Otherwise, maybe you're straightening the legs, you're flexing the toes. You can start with the hands behind you, or if you're feeling quite mobile, you could have the hands in front of you and slowly start to walk the hands forward. Over time, we'll be here for a few extra rounds of breath. But you might start with a slightly longer spine, and over time, you might be able to find your forearms all the way onto the floor. Maybe gradually walking your chest towards the ground so that you're sort of deepening the pose very slowly and gradually, not rushing to get anywhere. maybe with every exhalation you can feel a little bit more of a softening down. Letting the crown of the head be heavy. Maybe you're stacking your fists or hands underneath the forehead so that it allows you to really relax the head and the front of the face down. Maybe here you can release the jaw, top jaw from the lower jaw. Release any tension in the front of the face. Softening your tongue away from the roof of the mouth. And maybe with each inhale you find a little bit more length in the spine. With the exhale, you soften down. And you might, for the last 3 breaths here, with each inhale, really inhale fully and deeply into the belly. And making a very soft ha sound as you exhale. And feel that soft exhale melt you towards the floor. Very gently, when you're ready, the hands walk back in towards the torso. Use the hands to support the knees as you bring them in towards yourself. Remove the blanket and then slowly roll your way all the way onto the floor. You can release the legs. You can reach the arms up and overhead, or have them resting on top of your belly if that's more comfortable. And we'll stay just for a last few rounds of breath here, allowing the back of the body to settle, allowing our breath to be easy, feeling the weight of our body against the floor. And finding just a brief moment of stillness at the end of our practice. A moment to really let all of the hard work, all of it to sort of generously diffuse into our body, for that sort of, all the poses to slowly infiltrate deep, deep, deep through the skin into your muscle tissue, through every cell in the body, all the way into the very, very center of your bones. So that you feel that deep sense of nourishment that you can get from this physical practice. And gently here, one knee at a time draws in towards the chest. You can hug the knees in with your arms for a moment. Have a little rock side to side to massage the back of the body against the floor. And when you're ready, you can either release your right arm back and roll over to the right side of your mat with the left arm supporting you there. Or you could have the hands under your knees and use the legs to build momentum and rock a few times through the spine, forwards and back. Eventually we'll meet seated in a comfortable seat, whatever sitting position that is for you. And for a moment here, we'll bring the hands to touch at the heart center. We'll bow the forehead towards the fingertips. And as always, we use this final moment of practice to plant a little positive seed of good intention into our day, our week, our month. The thing that in yoga we refer to as our sankalpa, our sort of guiding light for the next few days. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. And thank you so much, of course, for joining me in today's practice. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, pop them in the comments section down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. And otherwise, any other handles and social media will be left in the video description. I hope to see you back on the mat very, very soon, if not next week. And keep your practice strong, yogi. Enjoy the rest of your week.